Good morning, grade 12s. We are starting chapter 9 today. I am only sending you the key concepts, the first lesson today. So this is basically an introduction into the chapter. You have done business sectors and the environments, I think in grade 10 or 11. So all that we are doing here is revision. All right, this whole chapter, it's a very short chapter and it is all revision. So if we just look at the key concepts, remember your definitions are always important. What is a business sector? A business sector is a subdivision of economic activities. Okay, and remember the three different sectors the economy is divided into: a primary sector, a secondary sector, and a tertiary sector. Okay, but when we refer to business sectors, we are referring to which one of these? We are referring basically to one of these sectors. Now, we are going to look at it in terms of our businesses to classify different businesses into the different business sectors, whether it's primary, secondary, or tertiary. If we look at the primary sector includes all of those businesses that are involved with the extraction of raw materials and natural resources from nature. All right. So every single business that is involved in extraction, cultivation of raw materials from nature, that is going to be classified as a primary sector activity. The secondary sector is the second in line of this process. So once the raw materials have been extracted from nature by the primary sector, the raw materials, it's going to move along to the secondary sector. And the secondary sector is where these raw materials will be processed into finished goods that are obviously more ready for human consumption. Remember, there's very few products that we literally take out of nature and just consume. It has to be processed into something useful first. And that is the role of the secondary sector. So all businesses that are involved with processing of any kind will be classified as secondary sector activities. The last business sector is called the tertiary sector. The tertiary sector is all about distribution. So those finished goods, the raw materials are extracted in the primary sector. The raw materials are processed into something useful in the secondary sector. And now the job of the tertiary sector is to make sure that all of these finished goods are distributed to the final consumers. All right, so the tertiary sector is all about distribution and services. The tertiary sector is also known as the service industry. So they render services to other businesses. All right, in the tertiary sector, for example, would be transport. All right, so raw materials need to be transported from the farm to the factory. The finished goods are transported from the factory to the shop. At the shop, the ownership is transferred to the consumer. That's distribution. Legal services, educational services, storage services, communication, all of those things are part of tertiary sector. The business environments, this is also old news to you. Okay, when we talk about business environments, we are talking about all the internal and external factors that can affect the functioning and the running of a business. And remember, the three business environments that we are going to look at is the micro environment, the market environment, and the macro environments. And all of those factors, whether it's inside the business, whether it comes from outside the business, but all those factors that will affect the functioning and the running of our business will be classified. It's either going to be part of the micro, the market, or the macro environment of the business. So what is the micro environment? This environment represents the business itself. All right, so all those internal factors, all the elements from within the business itself that can affect the running and the functioning and the success of the business, that is referred to as the micro environment. So anything that comes from within the business itself is part of our micro environment. The market environment refers to the environment that exists immediately outside of the business. Okay, so it's things that directly relates to our business, for example, but it's not a part of our business. It doesn't come from within the business. it is on the outside of the business, but in the immediate environment outside the business. And then lastly, the macro environment, that is the environment that exists outside the micro and the market environment. Now, this is also very important. Our business has to function inside of this macro environment, but it is all those factors that is outside our specific business and outside our level of control. When we talk about extent of control, what we are referring to is the amount of influence that a business will have on that business environment. So every factor, everything that is going to impact on our business, depending on which environment that factor is a part of, that will determine how much control we have over what is happening. Okay, for example, all the things happening within the business, the micro environment of the business. Obviously, it is the business itself. It comes from within the business. So obviously, there we will have 100% control. We own the business. We are the business. So we can control, we have control over what happens inside of our business. In terms of the market environment, it is closely, it's outside the business, but close, okay? We have limited control. Our suppliers, for example, we have limited control over our suppliers. All right, we can't control what they do, but we can control which supplier we actually buy from. So there's limited control in the market environment. With regard to the macro environment, obviously things like laws. If the government makes a law, there's nothing we can do about it. Absolutely nothing we can do about it. We just have to deal with it. So we have no control over our macro environment. That is going to be things that happens out there, technological things, legal things, government politics, economical things that we have no control over.